Hey, David Starr here for another episode of On Guitars. The guitar I'm on right now is a beautiful little 1965 Martin 0021. Little quick stuff about the instrument, and then I'll tell you where I got it, because it's got a story, and stories are fun. This guitar, this model, originated in 1898. If you remember, Martin goes back to 1833, so they'd been at it quite a while by then. And they knew what they were doing by 65, long before 65. Brazilian rosewood back and sides, spruce top, looks like Adirondack spruce to me. Got the slotted peg head. This one has the original tuners. Never had a neck reset. You know, we've talked about that, how occasionally the old guitars, Martins, are notorious for this because they didn't have a truss rod until 74, I believe. By the way, if I throw out a fact that I got wrong, feel free to correct me. I get excited, say the wrong stuff sometimes, but I believe that's correct. Anyway, this particular guitar, another thing to notice, 12 frets clear of body. Those of you who play classical guitar, that'll make sense to you because your guitars mostly stop right there. So you can't get up here and do much. But as my friend Dan Dugmore said, you can't make any money up there anyway. Really big sounding guitar for the physical size, and that's what surprised me the first time I heard it. So you're wondering, what's the story you're telling us about? When I'm out touring around, several years ago, I still played a lot of kind of restaurant gigs, outdoor beer garden kind of gigs, and I'd play one right now for nothing because I haven't played anywhere in a while, but kind of got away from that and began concentrating more on listening audiences and trying not to compete with the clinking of the forks and spoons and tableware and that sort of thing. But as I said, right now that sounds pretty good. And there was usually pizza involved. But a guy came to the gig, and I think it was Julian, California. It's a cool little place there that it's a pizza place, and they have an outdoor sort of beer garden or a garden plaza area, and they serve food out there on summer nights, and it's really nice. And I was playing there, and a guy came up, and he said, so you have the guitar store, right? I said, yeah. And he said, I've got this guitar, and I bought it new when I was a kid, and I saved and saved for it, and then I financed it through the guitar store. And by the way, stores used to do that, to let you have credit. You pay like $15 a month until you had the thing paid off. It's just impossible to do that these days. Things are just too weird, and the world's too busy for that. But that's how it worked in the old days, and I remember doing that myself with some instruments and some other equipment. A PA system, for instance, that a 16-year-old couldn't afford. The guy at the store would let you pay it out. Those were the days, right? At any rate, this guy came up and he said, I've got this guitar, bought it new, never had any work done on it, and he said, I've kept it all these years, but he said, I don't really play anymore. It seems to me he may have been dealing with some arthritis or something like that. And he said, I'm tired of having it sit in the case at home. So I said, well, what is it? And that's always a good question to ask because sometimes it's a $15 guitar that was worth $14 to start with, and you don't want it, maybe. But in this case, he said it's a 1965 Martin 0021. And so my little guitarometer definitely started registering when he told me that. And I said, well, I'd love to see it. When can I see it? And so he said, well, where are you going to be tomorrow night? And I was going to be nearby, but not too nearby. And anyway, a year went by, and we corresponded a little bit, but not a lot. And it kind of slipped my mind, to be honest. And then one day he reached out to me and he said, I see you're going to be back in the area would you like to see the guitar? I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So I was playing in the same place, and he brought it out, and I played it. And I said, how much? And he told me. So I had to kind of, think about that overnight. And we were going to be in Old Town Orange, California the next night, where we were staying in the area there in our motorhome. And I reached out and I said, okay, I'll buy it. We agreed on a price. I said, I'll buy it. Can I write you a check? And he said, I really kind of need cash. And I go, oh, sure you do. So anyway, we figured out a way through Bank of America, because my wife and I both had accounts, and we got it worked out, and got the cash, and met him at a pizza place, I think. Maybe it's a Mexican food place. I don't remember, but it's a restaurant. So you see the common theme here is food and guitars. So anyway, he met me. I took a long look at the guitar, made sure it was still okay, and paid him. And here it's been ever since. And I love this little guitar. I have a Larrivee 00 that's very, very similar to this, in terms of dimensions and size and feel. And the neck is different on that Larrivee. It's a little more contemporary neck without that V. But they're real similar guitars. And, I try to play this one a couple of times a week and let it know it's loved and all that good stuff. But it's a great little guitar, and I always think of these guitars as good sofa guitars because they're small. You're not stressed when you're sitting down trying to play it on the sofa or in the evening out on the porch, and it's a good songwriting guitar. One of the things I like about 12-fret guitars is that everything is pulled in this way a little bit, and it's not a lot. You wouldn't think that much would make a difference on a guitar, but it does. And the analogy I like to use when people are looking at sizes of guitars or scale length or 14 fret versus 12 is, if anyone's ever borrowed your car and they move the seat to go to the grocery store or whatever, or the kids take the car for the evening and bring it back, and they've moved the seat, a couple inches, 3 inches, whatever it is, not very much. Maybe you got one of those electric seats, and you can move them pretty easily, but they don't put it back where it was when they borrowed the car. And when you get in that car, you hit your knees, you hit your head, nothing feels right, and for a while you can never get it back just exactly like it was. So those tolerances, while not significant in terms of real measurements, from an ergonomic standpoint, you get used to a certain thing, feels better. Same thing with these little guitars. I've got several 12-fret instruments. I like them a lot, particularly for dadgad tunings. They're nice for that. I don't know why I like them, but I do. Let me get a pick and strum a little bit. Play little finger-style stuff on it. And these are really good for that. The neck's plenty wide, short. Again, classical players will identify with a guitar like this. But it's also a really nice sounding guitar with a pick. Hope you've enjoyed it. 1965 Martin 0021. I'm David Starr. This is On Guitars. Don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. Tell your friends. And if you got questions or comments, put them down below, and I'll try to read every one of them and respond. Thanks for listening.